Nope, we didn't crash. We're here, but make sure your mic's on here. And in typical fashion for me, I'm gonna make sure that the chat and everyone in the chat can hear us okay. I, as usual, forget something. We're supposed to start off like this, guys. It was supposed to be a big epic entry, but I forgot to set it. But that's okay. We have the important stuff here. We have Ben and Matt here from Numskull. Guys, welcome, of course, to the show. And the big reason these guys are here, I know they've been on they're making the rounds right now in the community, which is good because they have basically just started shipping out their quarter scale Space Invaders. Now I have the Space Invaders Part 2. You can see it in my lower TV over here. And I haven't even looked at it yet. It hasn't been opened yet. Haven't done a thing with it just yet. But that's going to change today in the show. And of course, we'll have some questions to Ben and Matt. Furthermore, I'm looking at the back of Matt. See, Matt's got, I mean, Ben does too, but Matt's got that whole thing in the background right now, which lined up like cotton candies, basically.
Yeah. This is actually my home office. This is where I went from home. So this is my arcade that I've got set up here.
And these are good because obviously right now in the industry there's a bunch of products in the mix. You know, we just talked a moment ago about Arcade 1-Up. We have At Games. Of course, we have the New Wave Toys, the 1/6 scale. You guys are 1/4 scale. I was just showing Ben a minute ago. This is like my 1/6 scale. I'm waiting for you guys to come out with yours because this is using a Blaze board in here, which is, it's okay, but I want the replica. So I'm waiting for you guys to come out with that. And as well as the Lunar Lander.
Scale. The knobs are too big.
Right. Well, that's what she said. But that's that's not here nor there coming out. But another thing I want to do, because there was the elephant in the room from you guys were recently on the Super Game Room dudes, and you kind of talked a little bit about Nintendo, and just Nintendo as a whole usually is very in-house. But the fact you guys are having any kind of talks with Nintendo is a big deal, whether or not things go forward or not. But I know it's been like, a week? I don't think anything really changed in between that time. But I'm going to ask, has anything changed with Nintendo during this time?
No, nothing's changed at this time. The next round, which is round 3, where talks will be in January, so after Christmas. So we're hopeful at Quarter Arcades, but we are talking to them about a number of categories, not just arcades. I think I previously mentioned, so tubs is another big part of our business, which is the collectible ducks, and we do cos cups and power idols. So Nintendo have said no to tubs and cos cups, but that's the only things they've said no to so far. So as we progress through, we're hopeful that Quarter Arcades doesn't get cut. But we should have round 3 discussions back end of January, they've said.
And that's a big thing to remember, because you right now a lot of people may only know you from your 1/4 scale, like Pac-Man, Galaga, Galaxian, Pluribus. I can never say that right, Pluribus, however that one's pronounced. But they may only know you for that. But you guys do many, many things outside of that. This is not your only bread and butter, these 1/4 scale machines. You do many other products as well.
Yeah. So the business was actually built upon doing ugly Christmas sweaters. That was the mainstay of the business.
Right. I know Doug liked the sweater. I know he had his.
Yeah. So we actually started off with PlayStation, Street Fighter, and Sonic the Hedgehog, and then we moved quite quickly. So we got a Disney license, a Star Wars license. We were the first people to do Star Wars ugly Christmas sweaters. And that's how we built the business. And then we've managed to grow into other categories. One of them being Quarter Arcades, which is a massive passion project. Certainly for Matt. Matt is the driving force behind Quarter Arcades.
Way to go, Matt.
What Matt doesn't know about arcades.
Yeah, it's my fault. This is a project done with your heart, not your head. It's fair to say. So you know, it's we do a lot of projects, thank God, because Quarter Arcades is I wouldn't say the most profitable part of our business. It's a thing we do for love, more than the cash sort of side of it, sort of thing. So, but yeah, it is. I'm a 50-year-old man. I was born, you know, and played the games in the 80s. And it's an absolute love and passion of mine. I just love the arcades. I think it's where it all began, and for me, it's still where it's at. So yeah, it's my fault.
Well, that's a good thing, because like you guys, myself, and some of the people in the community, that's a driving force. I mean, I have said it millions of times before. People probably get bored of it. It's an art form. These are not just like toys that are in the arcades, are thrown away. Although that's happening, they end up in landfills. But these machines are artwork. People created the code, created the games, then people created the artwork on the machines, the style of the machine. It is an art form, and you guys are
100%.
helping not only keeping that alive, but the accuracy is the big thing, because you guys really. I know, again, going back to Super Game Room Dudes, you purchase some 3D scanners and you buy in the machine, and you guys are trying to get as accurate you can going down with these machines. And that's been my driving force for what I do, is that same thing. It's just to let the young kids today. I mean, this kid's coming out today. They may play a game, not realizing its legacy or what the machine looked like. They may have thought it was always a home console port on their PS12 or whatever these kids are playing today. But these are where they came from. These are the legacy things, like Atari, Nolan Bushnell, those type of things. The old like Rally X you would have had with like Namco. Hopefully Rally X one day too. These type of things are, number one, important, but number two, I have a Sega Zaxxon. I have a full-size Zaxxon here. It's like 400 pounds, takes up a lot of space. You and the scale, like you have behind you, gives you the ability to see what the machine looked like, play the machine as it was in the machine, because we're using the arcade ROM. It's not a recreation. It's the actual ROM from the machine. And have space for more. I mean, I know you get, again, Super Game Room Dudes, Michael B., the Game Genie. I don't know how his wife is not throwing him out. I mean, he's got like 5 rooms tied up with machines. So, and this you could have even in the office, right? So is that kind of what you guys are seeing? People actually have them at their office. Like I have a couple in my office too, on a shelf. People go, "Oh, what's that?" You start talking about it. It's not just people's homes, I'm assuming.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Glenn. When I started this project, it was about 100%. It's not just about the game. It's the cabinet. It's the artwork. As you said, these are works of art. these cabinets that came out in the 70s or 80s. So when we decided on the size, it was very simple. We got cardboard boxes, we put them together, because what I wanted, for me, 50% of these are about the game, 50% of these is about the artwork and the cabinet. And what I wanted was something that looked exactly the same as the originals. There's a lot of different versions you get out there, and they're great. But for me, the shape and the size and the scale is so important. That's what these machines were. But I wanted it to be fully playable. So we literally got cardboard boxes, and we worked around with scale, and we did 6 scale, we did all different types of scale, and it was, what is the smallest we can make these, but still make them not playable as the originals. And I know a lot of people say, well, you can't play Gallagher on a machine that size. We've got a full-size Gallagher. We've got a full-size one of every one of these machines. And I'm as crap on these as I am the real ones. The scores don't change. It's unbelievable. So that was really important, that you could play these exactly the same. And we've had a guy that got Pac-Man, the 256 levels. He did that on a quarter scale arcade. These are not toys. These are fully playable, but full replicas. And I think that's where we stand out from, some really good competition, but they are exact replicas. That joystick isn't oversized. We've not had to change the artwork to make it fit. We're not putting a speaker on the back. That where that speaker sits, the noise that comes from that. If you've got a speaker on the back of the machine, it doesn't sound like it did in the arcade. So there's a lot that goes into it. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about it. But the size came from what is the smallest we can make them, but still make them the most playable machine and look identical to the original. So that's where it came from. And then Quarter Arcades was just it was just a nice name that came from it. But it's what came after we decided to make it what we did, and that was about playability and style.
Well, one of the things you actually said, Matt, I know, Ben, you were on Cool Toy Show. And one of the things that were talked about was, I think, was Miss Pac-Man and Namco working with them. They gave you artwork. You guys, okay, great. We got the artwork. They make it so much easier for us. And you're looking at it, like, wait, this isn't right. And that is another thing you have to deal with, because the company may no longer have all the licenses. I know with Arcade 1, they had a problem with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the soundtrack. These are things that's really outside your scope of control. But being what you guys are doing, you'll get the wrath of us, the market who's purchasing them, saying that's not how this game was played. That's not the right artwork. The aspect ratio is off. And I know I'm not sure who from Numskull went back to say, Namco, listen, I understand you're saying this is what we need to use. This is what you're giving us, and you're saying we can't, but we need to use this. Otherwise, it's not going to be what we're touting it to be, as a fully accurate machine. So I know you talked about it before with Cool Toy, but we're on my show now. Can you tell a little bit to my audience what you talked about then?
Yeah, so back in the 70s, 80s and 90s, no one actually thought at the time, let's keep the artwork and let's keep the software, because in 30, 40 years' time, somebody might want to reuse that. So a lot of this stuff is lost. And I would say...
Real quick on that. No one, honestly, in all honesty, no one thought back then at all that this was a fad. This was like the 80s. It was a fad, and we had a crash here in the U.S. It didn't happen in the UK. I understand that, but here was a crash. It was a fad. So I understand that people just like, let it go.
Yeah. So 9 times out of 10, when we sign a license, there is no ROM, there is no artwork. So we have to go off and source it all ourselves. And that's our unique point around Quarter Arcades. The other guys, Arcade One Up and New Wave Toys, they make great machines, but they're not exact replicas. They haven't gone to the same level of detail that we have, and that's fine. But our point of difference and what we want to do is exact replicas. So we have to go back and make sure it is really, truly authentic to the original cabinet. One, because Matt wants the original. Sometimes I'll say, oh, that'll do. that's close enough. But Matt is, no, it has to be 100% accurate. Otherwise, we're not doing it. So kudos to him for, making us do this, but it takes a long time. So there was 2 incidences. So Miss Pac-Man, they actually, Namco gave us the artwork for Miss Pac-Man, which was a pleasant surprise at the time. Wow, you got the artwork. But what we do with the community is we get the arcade. Once we've done the prototype, we'll purposely post a picture of it on our Quarter Arcade Facebook fan
to
page.
bring on the hounds. This isn't right. This isn't
That's
right.
it. Yeah. And then just wait and see what people say in comments, because we don't get every single detail. But somebody picked up the Miss Pac-Man marquee and said, that's not right. I hope they're going to change the marquees. That's not true to the original. Thankfully, we actually had a Miss Pac-Man in our office, so we went back and went, oh crikey, it's not right. It's just small, subtle details that weren't right with the artwork. We had it as well with Space Invaders, which we've just released. That went backwards and forwards with Taito 8 times. There was just subtle things that Taito had given us some artwork, but it wasn't right. It wasn't true to the original replica. And we've got a Space Invaders original machine in our office.
I'm jealous.
We purchased them just to make sure that we do get it as authentic as possible. The speaker placement, the screws, the handles, everything, the kick plates. So Space Invaders, that went back about 8 times with Taito, with just minor changes, just little lines, and where the flying saucer was. So pleased to say the community helps us, but most importantly, our machines do have 100% replica artwork.
Now, coming from, again, I'm slightly in the business. I'm not at the level you guys are at all. But why do you feel there's so much pushback from the organization? Is it simply because other people are involved with the license? Is that what it really comes down to? Because I know with some games, one guy wrote the music and it's still tied to that person. They can't track him down, or someone did the artwork. Is that really what it comes down to? Or is the company thinking it's not worth our time to really, here it is, and just go? Leave us alone.
Yeah. It's very murky. So some cabinets and licenses are easy to do, very straightforward. Atari, Namco, very straightforward, because they know what they own. It's very clean. Namco own Pac-Man, 100%, lock, stock, the lot. They own the artwork, they own the ROM, they own the sound, everything.
Wasn't so with Miss Pac-Man, though, was it?
No, well, they thought they owned it, yes. So there was a legal case a few years ago. Thankfully, it happened just after we'd signed Miss Pac-Man. So we signed the contract for Miss Pac-Man, and then I think it happened 12 months later. There was a dispute around the rights, but that's now settled. I'm not quite sure. It settled out of court, I believe. So I don't know the details of what the agreement was. But no, some of them are very difficult. So RoboCop, which we've talked around with Doug on Cool Toy and Super Gamer Dudes, that's now agreed. So that's going ahead. We're at contract stage with all the parties involved. But there's 4 people involved in RoboCop, and it's been really painful trying to track down who owns what, because the rights to do certain things, the artwork, the software, the brand, change hands multiple times. So I think RoboCop the film's 1987. I'm looking
to believe it's that long ago.
Yeah.
1987, was it? Yeah.
So, the movie was 87. I think the cab came out in 89 or something, didn't it?
Yeah.
88.
And it's just changed hands multiple times. Orion Pictures no longer exist. They're part of the MGM family.
Right.
Ocean Software no longer exists. They're now part of Atari. But I think they've been passed around 3, 4, 5 times. But it's actually in the Atari stable. But there was a trademark dispute over Ocean Software as well, which has now been resolved, to do with an ocean freight liner claimed to have the trademark for it. So that's been resolved. And then, the software's owned by D4 Enterprise. It was previously Data East. They sold it to D4 Enterprise, and now it's all seems to have lined up. So RoboCop exclusive for you, Glenn. RoboCop will be happening.
Awesome. And I want to touch back on one thing you talked about before, because you said you purchased the actual machines, which I get. You want to make it accurate. Now, we're talking consoles that could be 40, 45 years old. and you know how these arcades are. They change the marquee light out, they change controllers out. How do you know that what you're getting was in that original machine, and the one you purchased wasn't, modified at the time for a good reason? Maybe a controller went bad and you had to replace it. Like, how do you verify that level, that what you actually have is how the machine was?
We don't, and it's a very, very good point, and I think it goes back to the community. You trust the machine. I remember the machines I played in the arcades. It doesn't mean that was right, and then we will buy machines, and you trust it. You trust that's what the original was. So I think a good point on this, again, going back to our community, because they are there's me and Ben, they're the third people in this relationship, if you like, because without those guys we won't get it right. So I think the best example probably, Ben, lately is the Taito machines, the elevator action and stuff that we're making. I was going to let you tell the story.
Oh, I'll tell the story.
Yeah.
Yes.
You tell it better than me.
Yeah. So we made the prototypes of elevator action, kicks, and zookeeper, and we put it onto the community, a picture of it, and then you sort of stand back for a week and see what comments you get. And one chap on the Facebook group said, "I hope they're going to make the instruction panel light up." And what does he mean? It doesn't light up. No. So we went back we didn't actually purchase those ones. We went back to the arcade club that we have access to, and we turned them on and said, "No, they don't light up." And then someone said, "Well, let's get inside the machine and just double check." So someone climbed in the machine and the bulbs are gone. So, but it had been like that for years. I don't think the owner of the club even knew the instruction panel lit up. So it was just those little things that the community have helped pick us up on, and as well as the I think Doug Coultoy picked us up on the Michelangelo keys for Turtles in Time, because we previously, this is the prototype one. The keys are yellow here. Sorry, the buttons are yellow, but obviously on the original it's orange. But in our local arcade club, they're orange. Sorry, they're yellow because somebody had fixed them or put a new control panel on, and we didn't realise. So it's great that the community help us preserve and get these right.
Excellent. Another question I have, are these all the ones you've made? Because obviously you made like Galaxian and these other Pac-Man. Are they a limited run, and once they're gone, they're gone? You make them in batches? I mean, how does that work? Some people obviously didn't know about you guys until maybe more recently. There was a machine that they saw somewhere, and oh my God, and I can't get this other machine, or can they? Will you continue to make other models, or there's only so many being made, and that's it of that model?
Matt,
No, the only one we limited originally, obviously, as you know, Pac-Man was the. Am I still on? Oh, sorry. I think I lost you for a minute there. Am I on?
You're freezing up a little bit there, Matt. You got to get
Sorry,
the two cans with the string a little closer.
Still there?
So I'll.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, you cut it out. So I'll answer this one. So the Pac-Man was limited edition to 10,000 units, so we won't see that one again. But the plan is to go back and do all of the Namco ones again. So Miss Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Gallagher, Galaxian. We will hopefully go back and do those ones. Bubble Bobble, we are re-releasing, so that will come out again shortly. And the plan is that we will go back and re-release the ones that we have released previously, with the exception of Pac-Man, which was, as I said, limited to 10,000 units.
Let me see if I can get good old Matt to rejoin us here. You will be in 1 second. I had to just fix one thing here on my side, because Glenn does things the cheap way. He doesn't have all the expensive back-end technology. It's all done manually on Glenn's Retro Show. But I think it should pop in about 1 or 2 more seconds. Hopefully. Dun, dun, dun. time we do this, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. See if he comes in here. He should be, but he's not. Let's try this. We're the most important people, so that's okay. Let me try one more time. No, it's not at your side, because I can see you on our side. I'm just trying to re-add your video to my link in here. And it's just Oh, come on. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, so let's do this. Apologies to everyone out there in the internet land. We'll give 2 bends at first. We'll do it in double. Let's see if that works. No, instead I lost you both. And I have 2 mats.
2 mats, eh?
All right. We can fix
Every
this.
woman's dream.
We can fix this. Always more than one way to fix something. Dun, dun, dun. Now, it wouldn't be the internet if there wasn't some type of glitch, right?
I'm now Ben Grant.
Here we got Mr. Ben back. Now let's get Mr. Matt back. Come on. See, there we go. There we go. Just give me 20 minutes in the middle of the show. We'll be fine. No problem.
Excellent.
So I want to bring up real quick too, while we have this commercial interruption. Let's throw a commercial in there. So I have your website here. Let's go with this one first down here. And we can see right now the Space Invaders you guys have available for purchase. Now I assume the pre-order people had their shipment already, and these are now available to purchase. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's just North America, so their pre-orders haven't been fulfilled yet. They're about 2 weeks behind.
Okay. So I feel special. Well, my mother always said I was special anyway, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So
yours was shipped. Okay.
So we can see right here. I guess was it the pre-order people got the coin, which was kind of nice. My Pac-Man unit also had the coin. The coin I assume is a special for the early bird people.
There was 2 specials. So we did an exclusive with the retailer Just Geek. Where they get
the balloons.
Is there a party?
It always happens to me. Yeah, I think Matt's on mute. So a retailer called JustGeek.com got an exclusive Space Invaders stall if you pre-ordered, and then the rest of the market got a exclusive coin.
And a few of these got signed, correct? And those are already spoken for, I assume, right now as well, correct?
So we did, in homage to the release date of Space Invaders 1, 1978, we released 78 signed Space Invaders 1. And Space Invaders 2 was released in 1979, so we released 79 signed editions of that version. The signed edition of Space Invaders 1 is sold out, gone forever. And Space Invaders 2, I think there's one or 2 left. Oh, it's gone as well, is it?
It's gone.
That's gone. Oh, sorry, it's gone.
That's that.
Yeah.
And the big thing to talk about on this one is, again, since you're talking about 1/4 scale, the other machines I'm going to say were relatively easy. Of course, they were not, but I'm going to say relatively easy because the monitor is right in their face, right there. You can see the gameplay. Now, Space Invaders and Space Invaders Part 2, however, do not have the monitor directly facing the end user. Instead, I always call it the mirror effect. I don't know if it's the right term. But the display is actually down here. You have a piece of plexiglass here. You have a moon or planetscape behind it, which we're going to see shortly. And then the invaders are projected, kind of like behind me right now. They're projected over that background. So explain to me some of the challenges you guys had with making that work. Because again, making the cabinet look good and making it accurate is one thing, but you guys had to do that with the background. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd like to say that
Matt's pretty pressed one to answer, but he's on mute, I think.
Am I on mute?
No, he's coming through here. Maybe you're not hearing him, but he's coming through on our side.
It's just you, Ben, that's missing out. You'll have to watch the show later. So anyway, so I'd like to say
that it's not coming through.
This was a real strategy for what we did. But basically, when we decided to do quarter arcades, I wrote a list and I went, right, okay, what do we need to do? To start off, and obviously Space Invaders, Pac-Man were like 1 and 2 on the list. They're just absolutely iconic.
Right.
And that was it. I never thought anything more about it. I knew Space Invaders came out in 1978. So I was like, okay, it's 2019 or whatever when we decided to make this. How difficult can this be? We never looked into any more than that. So we then decided to make it. The effect you're talking about is called the ghost peppered effect, where the game's actually played below and then reflected up. The game's played backwards and then reflects up forwards onto the screen. It also had coloured gels because video games couldn't do colours in 78.
Right.
So it was reflected that way. It also had a black light behind the moon to give it that glow. So we went ahead, we started creating this. Number one, we realised that LED screens and CRT screens are completely different with the way they emit light. CRTs emitted extreme light. Anyone who's ever played Asteroids in an arcade and you get that lovely tracer effect, you can't do that on an LED screen. You can't emit the light. Black light tubes of that size don't exist. It's all LEDs, and again, LEDs reflect light upwards, not outwards. So it was an absolute nightmare. It was one that we signed. We said we were going to make. We bought the original machine, and we were just like, how the hell did they make this in 1978? We were in awe of what they'd done, but also it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. We sat there with the original machine in bits on the floor going, how are we going to replicate this? We were just, it's a project that I love, but for about 4 years I hated. It was just, if we'd have realised, if we'd have looked into it more before we did it, we'd have never have made it. But because we committed to it and we said we were going to make it, but it's been the hardest thing we've ever made. There's been some dark days. There's been a lot of tears. Genuinely, even reflecting the light, because it's quarter scale, the angles are different. It doesn't give off the same light. So we had to literally find ways to replicate something from 78 using modern technology. There's 2 reasons it took so long. Number one, COVID just dropped. We lost a lot of time on that. We moved 3 factories doing Space Invaders because the other 2 factories couldn't do it. Simple as that. So we had to keep moving. So we could do a Netflix show on the making of Space Invaders. It would be 18 rated, but we could do a Netflix show on how difficult it was. And it was out of pure, I just wanted Space Invaders. There's no way we can build an arcade and not have Space Invaders in it. And in some ways that naivety has allowed us to make, in my opinion, and I am biased, the greatest replica that's ever been made. But stupidity is what got us there, just out of pure heart of all. And that's why it's taken so long.
I will say, well, first of all, I won't say stupidity, but if you kind of knew what was involved beforehand, you may not have done it. So the fact you guys really didn't know and you got involved, you're like, well, now we're going to follow through this to make it happen. Well, so that's when the ingenuity comes in.
100%. We committed. We told people we're going to make it. We put a pre-order campaign up. And without that, there's no way we would make Space Invaders. It just financially it makes no sense. The technology makes no sense. It was it was the hardest thing we've ever done.
And it's appreciated. In fact, people in the chat are saying they really appreciate it. And I want to bring up something else here because Arcade 1UP did make a 40th anniversary Space Invaders, and you can tell
with a screen.
With the screen, there was no thought into it at all. Because not only was it a screen, no mirror effect. I can understand that because of the way they built their cabinets. However, MAME and emulators do support loading a background image. They could have at least initiated that background. They didn't even do that. And the one thing I will say good about it is I could put it in the lowest setting. I could be 4 states away and still hear how Space Invaders going because they totally even screwed up the sound on it. That was that. Now, II Arcade, they came out with their version of Space Invaders, but that's not the ROM. That was a recreation. Of course, they gave you the option to put the planet back there, but it's not the mirror effect. It was a better attempt, but again,
it was a very good attempt. Yeah, I must admit, my arcade was way better than Arcade 1UP's version.
They were, but it still wasn't the original ROM. I could tell differences in the gameplay and the UFO. 100%. I played it. This game, this is Richie Knuckles, is a buddy of mine, but this game here, when it came out in '78, first time I had seen Space Invaders, I was 9, all right, and I had a piggy bank. And in that piggy bank, I actually had some, at the time, rare Susan B. Anthony dollar coins. Which in the States, it's bills. I had some Susan B. Anthony dollar bills, coins, and I had some $2 bills, which actually was legal tenure for a little while. They were quite rare. Well, the arcade guy now has all of them because I spent every penny, anything I could find, hawk anything. That was a drug for me. People breaking houses and they steal drugs. I was looking for quarters to play Space Invaders. I was one of those kids. Well, that was the game. I played, we played Breakout in the arcade. We played Kick. There was some basic, games out before then. There were. But that was the first one that was a drug that I was spending anything I had. I was selling stuff I had to play Space Invaders.
100%. I mean, I relate Space Invaders. It wasn't the first, but if Space Invaders was a movie, it would have been Jaws. Jaws was the first ever blockbuster. In 1975, Jaws was the first movie that is classed as the blockbuster, and that's the same with Space Invaders. I mean, I love the story. Apparently, it's not true, but I ignore that because I love these myths about arcades. Is that in Japan they run out of yen coins?
I've heard that's not true. I've heard that story for years. That's not true. They're saying now.
Apparently, someone came on and said it's not true. I don't care. It is true. I love that story that they run out of coins in Japan because Space Invaders was so popular and.
Well,
just even stories
they definitely built arcades around Space Invaders out there. They overnight places were being shut down, like bars, and turned into Space Invader pubs. That was true.
Yeah. It was the killer of the pinball machines, I believe. I mean, people were just taking out pinball machines and chucking in these Space Invaders that were making way more money. So, it's just how could you not have an arcade without Space Invaders? Even I talk about this with the arcades. Quarter arcades to me is not about one machine. It's that noise. And this is why I set this up. When they're all playing together, that noise is what an arcade is. An arcade is not the noise of Paperboy or Cuba or whatever it is. But because Space Invader was so basic, more. You could hear it wherever. If there was a Space Invaders in an arcade, you knew it because of that bass. So it had to join, but I'm glad we did it now. But for 4 years, and it's one of those. As you say, maybe it's a blessing that we didn't look into it more.
Well, like you said,
we had to make
the
it.
sound, the artwork, but the sound effects is a big thing about Space Invaders. So I haven't even still in the box. I have not taken this thing out of the box yet. So that's one of the things I'm going to be listening for. And being that it is a smaller unit, obviously speaker's going to be small. Do you feel with what you had, you still captured that womp, 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 womp sound?
And I think it goes back to what I said before, and it's something that I think gets missed on a lot of these replicas is the positioning of the speaker is so important. having the speaker above Pac-Man or having the speaker in front of Space Invaders or whatever, it emulates that noise because of the way that the sound comes out. You know, it's less bassy than the original because it's quarter scale, but it's the same noise, just a smaller one. But you know, I've got my arcade. I've played arcades one of the Space Invaders. It's not basic, and it has to be basic. So you've got to get that. And again, as I say, I am biased, but there's nothing better on the market outside of spending. Jesus, and I know because we bought one thousands upon thousands on an original. You can get better Space Invaders. Full stop.
When you brought up, you know, Marquee did come out with, well, the first thing was the Basic Impulse, or not the Basic Impulse. I'm sorry, the trying to remember. There's so many companies that have come and gone now. Basic Fun had come out with the Space Invaders. It was just, you know, static LEDs, you know, kind of like what you would have gotten in the 80s if you got in the Space Invaders, kind of what that one was. But then My Arcade did come out with I was surprising that people saw a Space Invaders using the mirror effect. It was decent. For the price point, it was decent. It was a ROM recreation. It's not the real, again, not the real arcade ROM. I can see the differences. They did do the mirror effect, and overall, it's there, but they're using regular LEDs back there, and you can tell the LEDs are hot spots. The planet,
you can see the dots.
You can see the dots. The planet is kind of like a 3D piece of plastic in there. So again, for what it is and was, it was okay. But it's not if you want to own the real thing. So before, and I'm going to go over there in a minute, we'll start doing the unboxing. My next question is simply, since you now have faced the challenge of a mirror effect machine, I don't want to say you maybe perfected it. I haven't seen it yet, but maybe you have. But you definitely know what's involved.
Yeah.
So there's not many games that use the mirror effect, but there is, like, I know you guys work with Atari. You know, you guys talk with Atari. There's Asteroids Deluxe, and no one has done a proper Asteroids Deluxe. And that, aside from Space Invaders, that was the one where I was flipping the machine so much the arcade guy came out and unplugged it because I was playing for like 2 hours. I'm like, no, it's my best game of my life. He unplugged it on me. But Asteroids Deluxe is another game where it's got a black light in there. It's got the screen down below. It's got the mirror effect. It's got the asteroid field, and even the asteroid field, the artwork had a 3D effect. Is that something that could be? You told me before the show, don't hold back. So I'm asking, is this a potential things on your radar at some point?
For me, Asteroid Deluxe was a beautiful cabinet. You know, I love the original. It was iconic. But Asteroid Deluxe, as you say, it had that Pepper Ghost effect, the artwork, the cabinet. I would love to make Asteroid Deluxe. What I've got, I don't show to Ben on my finance team. I've got an Excel sheet, and it has 100 arcade machines. Just my personal favourite 100 arcade machines in it. And I'm ticking them off one by one. All I can say is on that spreadsheet, I have Asteroids Deluxe, 100%.
Awesome. So that's what that in Battlezone. Battlezone. So with that being said,
that'd be it. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's definitely on the list. We'd have to find a way of making a quarter scale. It was like a periscope, wasn't it?
All you have to do is potentially make the periscope maybe removable. It's still accurate, but pop it off. Or you can put a little pair of goggles on with some lenses that really focus into those spots. Just suggestions. We'll talk offline.
Yeah, but it was a great machine.
It's a great machine. But I guess before I start the unboxing, my last one is, these take time. It takes research. It takes resources. It takes people making the prototypes. Do you guys have a limit of how many you can even do per year? I know this year you made quite an announcement between 2024 and 2025. Is there a limit to really what you can do per year to make sure you're keeping the quality the same, make sure you're making it accurate the same? Because you guys are not I don't know how many staff members you guys have, but I'm assuming you're not like a Nintendo with thousands of employees. It's more probably a few guys, right?
No, well, basically, and this is one thing, you know, we make ducks, we make lamps and Christmas sweater, but we have a dedicated quarter arcade department. So these guys are focused on what we do. I suppose the answer for me is, how long does it take until it's right? You know, Space Invaders took a long time. What we won't do is which can be frustrating, I know, but it's, when do we launch it? When it's bang on. That's when we launch it.
Right, and you guys definitely do that, because Space Invaders was announced a while ago. And maybe you guys are going forward with it, and then you said, and you were very transparent. You guys are very transparent. You stopped and said, listen, we're working on this. We're not quite happy about A, B, and C. I think it was actually at the time the mirror effect. You were having some difficulties with that.
Yeah.
And you said, listen, we don't want to release this until it is right. And it's here today. So awesome. But I do remember you guys are very transparent. You said, listen, we don't want to release something that's we feel is subpar. It may not have been to a lot of people, but you felt it was. And you guys are in the business to make money. You have kids and wives and food and bills you got to pay. But you said you put the brakes on that one and said, listen, this is got to be done the right way. So kudos to you guys for that.
Yeah, it is, and that was difficult. I mean, especially for me personally, because you know, Quarter Arcades was my baby, it was my concept, and you know, Ben supported me 100% on doing it. But Space Invaders from start to finish was like, there was COVID in between. It was 4 years.
I still can't believe it's been that long, because I remember you guys announcing it. It's
crazy. It's just insane. But and there was some dark days in that, because we were letting people down. We announced it, you know, and we said we're definitely making it, and we signed the license, and you know, and people were getting angry. Well, where is it, and what you're doing? And you know, at one point we were gonna, you know, try and bring out in a different way. But I have to say, you know, personally, and that was. It was a real stress, and it was the community, and what they ended up saying was, guys, get it right, take your time. If you get it right, it doesn't matter how long it takes, we'll back you. And that was such a turning point. You know, you start running out of energy, and you sat there with this bloody machine from '78 trying to get angles and lights, but to get that feedback is the reason Space Invaders came out. Is if the community had gone, bin it, or actually we're not that bothered, or we've lost faith in you, I would have canned it. But because there was those people that went, you know, I've pre-ordered it, you've took my money, do not rush it, get it right.
We had a quick question here from the chat for you guys, and that's important. They're asking right now, will 100%. Amazon be the main option for orders, or your website? Where will people really be able to get these machines, especially the Space Invaders?
So Amazon will be stocking it. Amazon.com will be stocking it in North America. It's available to pre-order now on Big Bad Toy Store, and JustGeek.com as well, which is based in the UK, shipped to the US.
Awesome. And I know we have a little technical difficulty with Ben hearing Matt. I bet you it's the perfect time where you guys will talk about each other and not know what each other's saying. So good thing for here. Now, what I'm going to do is I have not taken out of the box. I simply uncut the top of the cardboard. I haven't actually looked at anything yet. So this is all going to be live for you guys right now. I'm going to be stepping over there. So if you guys, if I'm not with the right angle, you can't see something, just let me know. Glenn, go right, go left, and I'll adjust. I have monitors all around, but this is the control deck. So I am going to go right now, guys. Is there anything you want to tell me first before I go? I'm going to walk over there, but Ben, Matt, anything?
If this,
good luck with it.
If you hate this machine, I don't know what I'm going to do, Glenn. I don't want to put any pressure on you, but this has taken 4 years of my life.
Well,
fill your boots. You know,
I'm going to admit, I'm very excited. Again, this is one of the machines, literally from childhood, I have probably one of the most nostalgia for. Pong, Space Invaders, Asteroids, those games. I'm going to know where every cigarette stain was. So I assume it's not on here, so that's good.
No, it's not.
Let's go take a look. I'm going to get up over here.
Cool.
Get this out of the way so you can just watch my little Space Invaders fly around and attack the Tron universe over there. And I'm going to come over here, and hope the guys can see me okay. I think you guys can. But
you've actually frozen on mine. I can just see us from a while back, but if everyone else can see it, I can hear you.
All right, we'll see if this thing goes okay. I will say, now these all shipped from, I assume, England, correct? When these came out?
Yeah.
Okay, so this thing, first of all, arrived, came over the pond. The box is in perfect condition. I've gotten stuff from New Jersey that have been like someone stepped and kicked around. So first of all, we'll say the box itself is very big and protected. And I'm going to show real quick as well, this did come with this little coin right here, if you guys can kind of see that. It's a little commemorative coin with Space Invaders that goes along with my Pac-Man one. So this was nice, and it's got a good weight to it as well. All right, so let's take this thing out of the box here. We do have our, and people know I'm crazy with boxes, so I'm very happy you have some protective foam or cardboard on top of the box. And here we go. Move this box down so we can kind of do it like this. Look at that.
I can't actually see any of this. I'm very nervous. It's like a radio show.
Well, let's check the chat and make sure everyone else can see okay. Now, if you go, maybe start coming through here. If you open up YouTube and go to the live stream, you'll probably see it on that side because everything's working on the stream. And
right, okay, I'll do
just so
that.
let everyone know, remember, Glenn is the ghetto channel. Everything he has here is from like the 80s, so this is how we do things here. But the box itself, I mean, the box right now, I see no imperfections on the box. The artwork on the front looks great. Now, I know that the artwork from the original Space Invaders people find a little more iconic, but for me, the gameplay of Space Invaders Part 2 kind of took precedence to me. So that's why I wanted Part 2. But the box here looks really good. I assume this is the front, but it could be the back. I don't know. But we'll turn to the side right here, and they're showing it's a 1/4 scale, fully playable. It does have I assume it's a lithium-ion battery in there to be charged, and you can play it without being plugged in. So you guys are doing the 45th anniversary on here. Like I said, I talked about Arcade 1-Up had the 40th anniversary. The machine looks, on the artwork here, I mean, the machine looks really, really nice. But I'm going to have to get my X-Acto knife because, like I said, I haven't even looked in the box. I'm going to cut this thing open here. But on this side here, we can see Space Invaders in there. The weight, this thing definitely feels substantial. It's something I'm assuming is not going to slide around as you're playing the game. No. So I need to grab an X-Acto knife over here, and I have a bare blade. And I'm extremely excited, but I'm happy the box itself, because again, I'm crazy. I hold on to boxes. I even hold on to the shipping boxes because I'm a freak. I get it. All right, let's get this thing open here.
But as you were saying, Glenn, the weight of it, I mean, there's a lot of wood. And everything's wood or metal, the coin doors metal, the arcade was wood. It's very stable. That thing will not move when you play it.
And that's important. Now, when I played this in the arcade, and you guys could correct me because you have the original machine, they were joysticks. But I actually played it on it was a Midway Space Invaders back in the day, and it was buttons. It was left and right buttons. That's the only thing for me that I have to get used to. It's a joystick, because they definitely had joystick versions. But was that Midway version that I played really not an original?
No, it was. I believe so. I believe definitely in the UK, in Europe, and I believe in Japan, we had the joystick version. And then I think you guys in the US, it was Midway that brought it out, and it was a slightly different cab, but it was definitely buttons for you guys. But that's excuse the pun, but that's alien to us. We had the joystick version, so.
Okay, well, we're opening the top right here, and again, the box is immaculate, and you did a nice job with the artwork on the box. I know a lot of people don't hold on to these things here, but I definitely do, and this thing will look really good up on the shelf. And the first thing we come to is a USB connector A to USB-C, which is good. I think my Pac-Man was a micro USB. It wasn't USB-C back then. So kudos.
USB-C now.
And that looks like a fairly long cable. What is that, a 4 or 5 foot cable?
I'm not sure what size it is, actually. I've got one here. It's a good length.
It is. I could see that. But looks like a quality cable. Put it down to the side for a second. And we have a nice piece of foam, quite firm on the top. So let's get this thing off here. Oh, ho, ho. Okay, well, we see the goodies inside. and it's a brilliant white on the top. Oh man, you know what? I want to be really careful taking this thing out. So, put it on its side for a second for everyone. It's a brilliant white on the top. It's like it's giving birth to me. I'm birthing a Space Invaders. Look at this. It's an arcade, everyone. Okay, we'll get the box out of the way. You have some silica gel in there to keep everything nice and dry. And I'm going to put this thing down in its package. And we have some things in here, obviously. We have the join the Quarter Arcades Club. So I assume people scan this little QR code right here. And it'll take them to your website to join the official club. We give announcements of new things coming out, I'm assuming?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, announcements, but also help us build the next machines as well, which is really important.
And we have our beginner guide, which looks like you have multiple language. But the again, I know I'm a freak with this. I get it, but it feels like a very quality laminated paper here, and you have multiple languages in here. But I get excited about this stuff. I know I'm weird. I'm sorry about that, but these are details that people don't do, but you guys are doing.
I'm the same as you, Glenn. You know, I love a good bit of spot gloss or, you know, a bit of embossing on packaging. I'm all over that.
All right, so here it is, the machine. It is still in its protective cocoon. And again, Glenn saves even this because Glenn is really weird. I know. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. But here we go. Oh, look at that. That's a thing of freaking beauty. But Glenn has to be very, very careful. Nothing's worse on a live stream than dropping something, right?
Yeah.
But wow. Again, this thing, what is the weight on this? I mean, this thing has some weight. So what is this thing weighing at? Do you know?
I can't remember the exact weight on there, but I think it's one of the heaviest ones we've done, just because it's such a solid machine with the metal and the wood. I think it might say on the box, does it, Ben? But it's a few kilos.
And that's, we have to remember, we have to always convert to kilograms. We in the States, we tried. Listen, in the States, we did try to go with kilograms, and you know, but we're stubborn over here in America. So I'll get the conversion.
Oh, sorry, you're in what you're pounds?
We're pounds. We're in pounds here. Yeah. We lost a couple space probes because kilometers and miles didn't work out.
Yeah,
kind of burned it right into the atmosphere. We're stubborn in America. You know, I tried to. I remember in school we did this whole thing, and they just gave up on us Americans. They gave up. But I want you to take a look at this now. Okay, so here is a 1/4 scale Numskull Space Invaders, and of course, I have my own machines here. So this is my Build-A-Cade, just for scale. This is my Arkanoid Build-A-Cade. Now look at the scale difference on here. Look at that. Putting them side by side. So this is what you're getting for your money. You're getting a much larger machine, and this is wood and metal that's on here, and looks really good. So I just wanted to show you guys scale. So if you guys are saying if my stuff was too small or something like that, which again, I play them, I put them on the table. I got small hands, but this is substantially larger. So if the size was a problem for you, it looks like quarter scale, it'd be the way you guys would go. Let's get this thing out of the way, like so. I'm going to move this again to the camera a little bit closer for you guys to kind of see this here. I want you guys to see how nice this works. And I'm hoping I'm getting the camera okay. But you have a coin door on there. Now, this does not accept coins. You simply press the coin return to put in credits. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was something I looked at, and stuff, and it was like it's more of a gimmick than a point for me. And you know what? How often would you put the coin in? It'll be so tiny. So we decided that you press the button on the front and it plays the game. It's about what it looks like and how it plays. We try to stay away from gimmicks.
And I'm looking on the back, and I remember this from my Pac-Man. You got the little plate back here. All these little details that are on
but
here.
Even the vents at the top, and again, I know it's a sad thing, but on our machine, that's what the back of Space Invaders looks like. And the top, you know, there's it's a replica 360. It's not just the front artwork. That's the back of Space Invaders.
Now we'll have our volume knob down here, USB-C, a charging connector, and our on-off button. Now, again, I know with the newer machines you're working on, you purchased a 3D scanner. Was this done with 3D scanner, or was this done the old-fashioned way with a tape measure and trying to do it accurately that way?
This was done the old-fashioned way of spending thousands of pounds to get one and put it in the office and measure it. So, that's the last. That and careful's are the last ones we did by buying the machines. The new ones are all done through 3D scanners.
And you know the color. This thing is just so colorful. I know the game itself was black and white, and they had little cellophanes on the invaders. There's a black and white screen, but the artwork is just. I mean, again, this is something from my childhood. It may not be from yours. But the colors, the design of everything on here is just awesome. I even look at the control panel. I see you got the 4 screws holding down the plexiglass cover for the control panel. And even on the top here. Now, this was on the original arcade machine, these metal clamps at the top.
Yeah.
That looks amazing. Now, this is the part that gives me some agita. I know people say it's always satisfying, is peeling this off, because once it's peeled off, it doesn't go back. So here we go. Look at that. That screen looks phenomenal. Now that's, I assume, like a reverse printing on like a plexiglass. Is that how that gets turned out?
Yeah. Even that was the most complicated thing we'd ever done. You know, usually an arcade has a marquee, but because the marquee continues, even the way they've done that, when it's switched off or lit up, it shows the artwork in a different way, and we're just like, how did you do that? So again, we're very talented, and our genius creative director Carl Meisen worked out how they printed it, and they printed it in a very different way to a normal marquee. So you'll see when it turns on, only Space Invaders lights up, the rest of it doesn't. So clever.
Now, when you were going back and forth with Taito, with the artwork, was that over Space Invaders Part 1, Space Invaders Part 2, or was kind of an issue on both with the artwork?
Both, I believe, wasn't it, Ben? I mean, it's very detailed with what they look at. I mean, both pieces of artwork have taken a long time, and I think Ben said we went back 8 times to get the artwork correct.
All right, here we're going to take off the protective coating over the control panel as well, and
that's very satisfying.
Yeah, it causes me agita because I know it's never going to be protected again. I'm like, no, but I'll survive because it's playable. Now the joystick, very clicky. So you have, I guess, micro switches in there. Yeah. And the button has a nice spring to it for your fire button. And you have player 1 and player 2. And that just looks really, really, really nice. I haven't even turned this thing on yet. We have a coin door down here. This does not open, I assume. And it's just pressing the button right there to start it. Now, do these ship with a charge, or should I plug this in to get...
You should have a little bit of charge in there.
Yeah, there should be some charge in there. How much we don't know, but you should be able to switch it on.
All right, here we go. I'm going to move it. I'm going to turn on, move it closer, because I assume people can't see the screen too much right now. But let's see if we can turn this on.
Have you noticed it's an on-off switch as well, not a rocker switch? We've moved to on-offs, which are much better.
Oh my God! Oh, look at that! All right, I'll get this close so you guys can see that, but I'm looking right now, and oh man, look at that. Okay, so what I'm seeing, it's not going to be 3D for you guys in here. So the space artwork actually comes in and around. So it's almost like it's concave with the artwork. The planet is on the plexiglass printed on there. And, as you look around, you actually can see, holy, that looks really, really phenomenal. All right, I can't stick it all to myself. Hopefully you guys can tell me if you could see it as well as I saw it in there. But that looks phenomenal. Again, this is something more for people like me who remember this game, how it was. And I guess you guys will let me know if it actually comes through okay on this screen here. I'm going to get as close as I can, trying to get no reflection on it from my overhead lights, I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's good.
How it was. And I guess you guys will let me know if it
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I got to put the AC on there. The battery's a little low, so we'll do that again.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I was going to say, it does come with some charge.
Someone's asking if you can use your head camera.
I can do that. You know what? Maybe I'll do that as well. Just give me 1 second to plug this bad boy in. So yeah, it's a pretty long cable.
I can
do that.
You know, maybe I'll do that as well. Let's give me 1 second to plug this back.
And we'll bring this over here. Nothing like having lots of wires to potentially trip over and knock something over. For sure, that's like the best thing. Now you don't include the you don't include a AC power pack brick, but most people have that already, correct?
Yeah, so it's because it just adds cost. So we're trying to keep the cost down as much as possible. So because we sell this all around the world, you'd have to have included a UK plug, an EU plug, a North American plug, an Australian plug. So all of a sudden you've got 4 plugs in there, of which only one's relevant for you. So you'd have to throw away 3 of them, but you'd have had to pay for all 4. So the easiest thing to do is to include it with a USB-C charging cable, and that you can dictate where you want to charge it, either using a plug or a USB socket.
I just realized I'm using the head camera here right now, and the cable's not long enough, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit. So just takes a second for me to even see what we're doing here.
You have to realize I'm using the head camera here right now, and the cable's not long enough, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit.
Can you guys see that screen okay?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, in that. I mean, it always amazed me. So part 2 was made in 79 and part 1 in 78. Part 2 was so much more colourful than the original.
Well, the other good thing about it was there was a little more to the invaders. Once we got a couple levels in, and you hit the invaders, they split in half, which was a nice thing. When you shot the last invader, sometimes they would fly up on the UFO, and the UFO would break down and be SOS, and they'd have to try and get away. Just small little things. Even when the level starts, they come down from the top, where in the original they just appeared on screen. So it was just small little improvements. It just made the game a little bit better. But again, so I have to say that from what I remember and seeing it still in the arcades, going to the game shows, that looks good. I can stand all the way back here. I'm standing maybe 4 feet away, and I can see the graphic overlay over that background, and the backlight in there really does illuminate it really, really well. So kudos. I think you guys hit the mark on that.
The other thing, Glenn, if you look at the marquee on the original, the marquee light cut off below the word part 2. So we've replicated that as well.
Actually, you know what? I didn't even remember that. So that kind of stinks. They did that in the arcade, but yeah, I do see that. But the design of the artwork is just a recreation, I should say. The recreation of the artwork on here looks really, really good. I'm going to have to make sure the volume's up on this thing here. Let's get some volume on here.
Yeah. There's a couple of questions coming, Glenn, that I'll answer quickly.
Let me check on the chat here. But you guys, if you guys can see them, want to answer them, please be my guest. Let me come over here for a second.
One of them is about the power. Any plug that's 1.5 amp or over is sufficient. Obviously, the higher the amp, the quicker it will charge. But we recommend 1.5 amps and above. And another question is when the pre-order shipping. So UK and European orders are shipping now. The US and North America will be about 2 weeks' time. The boat's just slightly behind, and it's got to get through US customs. So it's about 2 weeks for US and Canada.
I'm going to try and move this maybe table a little bit closer. I'm just trying to get the camera so you guys can really see that screen a little bit better. But just so everyone knows, I mean, if you guys didn't know, my basement had flooded a couple of years ago. And I'm in the process of fixing the basement. So I'm just trying to get everything in order so I can get the guy to come in and redo all the sheetrock and all that other fun stuff.
Glenn?
Yes.
So obviously this is the first time you've seen Space Invaders, and I think you've seen some of our cabs and some of the competition cabs. What's your first impression out of 10? How would you rate this in terms of
the initial impressions for me? I'm trying to make sure I'm still in the shot. I want people to see this whole bad boy as I can. The machine looks fantastic. I'm waiting for the sound now because with Space Invaders, we talked about before. The sound effects are a big deal of it, but the colors pop. The artwork is on perfectly. There's no like weird bubbling effect. So that's something I always check on. It's put on very, very well. The big thing with this cabinet again was the mirror effect of the screen, and that's why I turned it on. I'm still blown away how well that looks. Because as I said before, there is a black light back there that self-illuminates that rear part of it, and the backlight is. I didn't remember the space area behind the planet being so concaved. So that looks really cool, and just seeing the invaders appearing on everything, my bases on the bases on my base on the planet that are being shown on there, and the invaders just starting at the top and coming down. It looks really good, but I want you guys to see this a little bit better. I'm going to have to move this forward here. I want you guys really to be able to see as I'm stepping on my own wires because Glenn is a ghetto show. I may just change my title to Glenn the Ghetto Show. There we go. And let me see if I can get this camera a little bit better for you guys. Kind of be like if you were standing in front of this machine yourself. Over here. Let's see how this is here. Where is... Oh, see, when you get old, you lose stuff too. Here it is. It was right there the whole time. Okay, I know this. Let me see if I can get some of that light to not be on the screen from my room lights.
So we sent the first production samples to Nishikado Tomohiro, the original creator of Space Invaders, and he said, I mean, he doesn't do much media work at all. He's shied away from it for many years. So, but he sent us back a video, which we posted on the Facebook group, of him playing both machines. And his interpreter told us that he said it was the most realistic replica that he's ever seen, and he actually got quite emotional playing it 45 years later.
I can imagine he would, because again, when these machines coming out today, obviously with stuff that was never around before, or even be possible before. I'm just going to turn off some of these lights down here, just to see if we can make this look a little bit better.
Yeah, it looks the best in the dark. You really get that glow.
Let's see here.
I think if you put a credit in, I think the sound will start.
Yep, I'm going to do that right now to get this other light out here. So I want you guys to really see. There we go.
There you go. That's it.
So that right now just looks, to me, amazing and how I remember it. So I have the volume up right now. And let's go over here. Make sure I can see what we're doing, too, for everyone out there. All right, let's put a coin in and see what we can, hear. Here we go. Okay. Make sure I get the volume up. Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear that through my microphone.
No. Is it playing through yours?
Is it not coming through at all, the audio?
I can't hear it.
No, I can't really hear it.
I will say that right now the volume is maxed on it, and it's okay, but it's not like potently loud. Maybe that's why it's not coming through on my headset. I'm trying to get closer right now.
That's better.
Yeah, just. It sounds better in real life.
It's got a good base to it. I will
Yeah,
say that the base is good.
yeah. That's one of the things we wanted to capture was the base. Yeah, it definitely sounds better in the flesh. don't let that noise put anyone off.
No, not at all. Oh, as I got killed. The button feels excellent for shooting, and the joystick feels really good too. And it doesn't feel, like I said, the controls are too small.
No, it's as I say, I think we're the only ones that actually do all the buttons and the joysticks or whatever we make it in true scale. You know, usually if you've got to go smaller, you've got to make your joysticks bigger, otherwise it's not playable. But because we went quarter scale, it is exactly quarter scale buttons, joysticks, whatever we produce.
If I get this UFO here,
Oh, what?
yeah, don't have me save the universe, man. We're dead.
I was going to say that.
And you still get the blood boiling. You know, as they start going a little faster, and the bump, 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 bump increases. You know, you still have that kid in you that remembers it.
I forgot how hard it was. I don't know if it's because now I'm old, but Space Invaders is a hard game.
This is why I always have my problem. Come, buddy. One more.
One more, do it.
Ooh. And there he goes. I love that. Again, visually, this thing looks phenomenal. The joystick and button feels great. Of course, being a 1/4 scale, you know, the screen is bigger. It's nice looking into the window, and it's like there's depth. I'm looking down into it. Now, the screen itself is down below, if I'm not mistaken, and it's reflecting up there. So, how did you find I guess a screen? Is it a custom screen you guys had for brightness to make it work in the way that it's working right now?
We went through a lot of screens. it was like Cinderella's slipper. We literally went right, get every screen on the market, and we just had to find the right one that emitted the right light. As I say, the game's actually down below. The game's playing backwards, being reflected onto a mirror, so you can see it like that. So a little bit trial and error, just to get that right reflection to justify what was done in '79 as this would have been.
And I will say that sound is very clear. I don't hear any. I've used speakers where you get some hissing, or anything. The samples. I assume these are sound samples. I'm not sure what kind of emulator you're using, but it's very clear. Oh man, I can't get that UFO for nothing. Sound samples. I'm not sure what kind of emulator you're using, but it's very clear. So what is your high score been on this?
You know what? It's one of those games I love. I'm terrible at Space Invaders. Absolutely terrible. A few thousand at best. But it's the first time I've got the one here. It's only this week I've been able to enjoy Space Invaders for about 4 years, because you're not playing it as a fan, you're playing it to critique, and it's nice to just play it again and just enjoy the game. But it's been a long time since I've loved Space Invaders.
It brings back so many memories. It really does, and it's a classic game. I mean, Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Asteroids were basically the triad back in the late '70s and early '80s. Of course, then Donkey Kong came out after that, but back in the early days, these were the machines that, like I said, took everyone's money, People went and played all the time, but this is the first time, aside from owning the machine, I'm playing
Yeah.
it the way it was meant to be played.
100%. I mean, it is the original ROM. I mean, what amazes me back in the 70s and 80s, so Space Invaders, they all have some kind of quirk in them. So I think on Space Invaders, if you fire X amount of times and then hit the saucer, you'll get the most points. It's like fire only 9 times, then hit the saucer, or something like that. But it's just like, how did they put these things in there? You know, Gallagher, if you don't fire for 3 minutes, the ships won't fire back, or if you sit here in Pac-Man, the ghost won't get you. I'm like, was it a bug, or was it planned? It's just genius how they managed to put such quirks into such simple games.
You guys did a nice job. Again, the big thing for this one, being the game that it is that mirror effect. I mean, that's right
Yeah.
now, aside from it just looking great, and it does look great, is that mirror effect. That is like a huge selling point for anyone, because again, people can play Space Invaders any way they want these days, but this is how the experience was. Like, it's just missing a couple cigarette burns on it,
Yeah.
from the guy before. Yeah, I'm getting a little better at my UFOs there, but
If we'd have got so far and we couldn't have done the mirrored effect, I wouldn't have brought it out. I would
now
have just.
was that was so I was right when I know you paused. It was because you guys were having, I don't say difficulties, but there were issues with making that effect work properly.
It's 100%. It was we make this effect, or we managed to do a ghost pepper effect, or we don't make it. You know, it's a bit like track and field. We announced track and field ages ago. We still don't have the rights to the original artwork. So at this point in time, until we get that original artwork, we will bring out track and field, because without that, it's not track and field. I mean, the artwork on track and field, I mean, that track and field came out in '83. The artwork was done for the LA Olympics in '84. I mean, it's so iconic. And we could bring it out tomorrow without that artwork, but that's not track and field.
Right. And that's, I would say, probably the next big one that people are talking about is track and field. A lot of people have a lot of fond memories of that game, playing with their friends.
100%. It breaks my heart. I mean, we actually made a prototype. One of the first prototypes we made in-house was track and field. We own an original track and field. It's that thing where we're exact replicas, where we want to put a bit of history in someone's home. You can't do that and then draw something else on the side of it. So it's not dead. We're still working with Konami to get the rights to the artwork, which they don't own, which goes back to, back in the day, no one thought that artwork was going to be worth anything 40 years later.
Oh, I'm telling you right now as well. Oh, I got him pretty quick there. Let's see, is he going to fail? There we go. Here's the failure.
I tell you what, you're better than me.
Here he goes. Engine trouble. I love that. The machine is not moving an inch. So I'm playing the game.
Oh,
you're right. This thing's not moving an inch. You got good rubber feet on the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, and now I just get killed, and that's it. So, if I was to critique only one thing, I would like the volume just a little bit louder at the maximum. Outside of that, it's phenomenal. I'm really impressed with the build on it, the weight on it. I'm gonna turn the lights back on so people can see the machine again. But when I'm giving that critique, I want to be clear that the sound quality is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
There's no hiss, there's no background at all. The samples are excellent. That would be the only thing. And again, it comes from a point of, like I said, the arcade one-up being so loud, it was blowing your eardrums off. This one, if you're in the room playing, like if I'm in the room playing by myself, it's fine. But sometimes you want to blast it a bit longer. That'd be the only thing. And I think that's a small thing out of everything. The visuals look phenomenal. The machine looks phenomenal. It's got a great weight to it. The original arcade ROM in there. Again, me being me, Space Invaders Part 2 is much more a fun game than the first Space Invaders. However, the artwork between the two are different, and some people really want that original artwork. But I think you guys did I think you did a absolute fantastic job. Nothing's out there is perfect. If it was, I haven't seen a perfect product yet. But I think that if you're a Space Invaders fan or a collector of these size, or want to play something of this scale, I think you knocked it out of the park. I really, really do.
Have you played a better Space Invaders? That's not full size.
No, the only one I have the My Arcade. I have the basic fun. I have so many different versions of it, but this is the first time. Honest, I'm going to tell you, this is the first time I played Space Invaders at home.
Yeah.
Because without that mirror effect, it wasn't the same type of game. And again, it's more than the game itself, and that's what I'm glad you guys understand, and you guys do understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the gameplay; it's the experience. It's the little details. It's making it as accurate as you guys can. Again, people can make things cheap or just play it at home for nothing. But if you want a machine that brings that experience home in a way that the wife's not going to murder you for taking up, like Michael B, 5 bedrooms with arcade machines, this is really nice. Now, I've only owned the two, so I own this one now and the original Pac-Man. I'm probably going to get a Galaxian at some point. I know a lot of people love Galaga, but I'm more of a Galaxian guy because again, it was the first one I played. And I'm going to be all in over Pong. I'm going to be all in over Lunar Lander as well. But this thing is absolutely gorgeous. And I think you guys knocked it out of the park. The plaque on the back, it says engineered by Numskull Designs, manufactured by, what does it say? Rubber Road Limited on the back there.
It should be. Is it number 10?
This is not, I didn't even realize that. So I have the 10th unit built. Or the 10th
No, that's model number 10. So that's the 10th machine we've brought out. And ironically, it goes back to the track and field. Track and field was supposed to be number 7, and we've retired that number until we get track and field. At some point, we will make track and field, and that will become number 7. But that's the 10th model in our series. That's number 10 that we've made.
Now on these units, let me bring the screen back down a little bit so you can see us for a second here. Boom. There we go. Hi, guys. So, again, I think it's absolutely a phenomenal thing. I'm going to look in the chat here and see what people are saying. I'm doing. I'm good with small things. I don't know if that's a good thing to say. It probably was not.
I was going to say, I was really impressed with your score. I don't know if I'm impressed or disappointed in myself. Well, that was impressive.
I'm going to talk to my friend Richie Knuckles. And Richie Knuckles is
he can play.
He can play. He's maybe an hour from me. And actually, I had given him my arcade one-up Space Invaders. I had 2 of them. And I gave him one of them. He's a big Space Invaders nut, so I'll have his opinions on it. But again, I give it like a 98%. The only thing is, I would have liked the volume just a little bit higher. But again, that's not a bad thing. It's not like the sound is bad. The sound is not staticky. It's loud enough in the room. But sometimes you want to have that a little bit louder. And I think that could have just been a little bit higher. But again, if that's the only critique I have on here, I think that machine is gorgeous. Outside and in. Phenomenal. Now, with the battery that's in there, how long would it take to charge, and how long do we expect it to play on the battery?
I think it's charges in about, well, depending upon what ampage you have, but it should charge in 2 to 3 hours if you do a 2 amp or above. But then the playability is anywhere between 4 and 6 hours on a full charge.
Yeah.
Now, another question I'm just going to ask, because batteries like this don't last forever. Is that something that's usually replaceable if the battery does go bad? Is there a way to get to the battery, or would it have to be sent into you guys? I mean, we're talking years. I'm not talking the battery's going to die tomorrow, but just things like batteries will die at some point. Or will the machine be fine just running AC? Because that's the real machine, the real arcade experience have been plugged in. So how does that work? Have you had any issues with your other machines? Like I have my Pac-Man, it still works fine. But if someone does have an issue, what happens?
Yeah, no, we've never had any major issues when any of the batteries. They will last for a number of years. If the battery does die for whatever reason, then you can still play it on your AC charge. There is a law coming in we believe in Europe in the next two years, where you have to make all products with a lithium battery replaceable.
Yeah, and
So
thank
that-
you for strong arming Apple. You guys got Apple by the horns. We couldn't do it here. You guys said, listen, you're using USB-C. And I remember the thing about the batteries. And I thank you guys for that, because I have cell phones here. There's nothing wrong with them, but the battery is no good anymore. And now you're throwing that away where it's not necessary. So that mean in your future versions, there'll be some way to access the battery, but in a way that'll keep it still accurate.
Yeah, I think it's going to be European law. So the UK is going to be exempt from it, and so is obviously North America and the rest of the world. But I wouldn't be surprised if they follow suit at some point. But all manufacturers, if you want to sell into Europe, you are going to have to make your lithium batteries replaceable, user replaceable, not manufacturer replaceable. So the user should be able to access the battery, be able to replace the battery themselves.
Okay, now I'm going to ask this is the hard question. And again, only because you said I can ask anything I want and don't hold back. And they did, guys. Just so you guys know, before the show even started, they said, listen, don't.
Ben said that. I didn't say that. I said nothing. Ben said
he did. He did. But that's a good thing. It's always good when a company says, listen, we'll answer the questions versus squish them. My only question would be, with all the machines you have sold, what has been, I guess, your biggest failure point? What's failed on the machines that required either you fixing or just something like my build-a-cades? There's always something on them that you didn't realize, or it's a defect in manufacturing. What has been your biggest issue, and have you corrected it? You could also say not building enough. That's also a great answer.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. No, I think Gallagher had a minor issue when we first launched it, but we did a firmware update on that one.
Yeah.
I can't recall the others. Can you, Matt?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, if we're being totally honest, when we started doing quarter arcade, we had never done it before. Like most people, like every other company, and I know looking to Shiloh from New Wave Toys, you learn as you go along. In the same reason, your iPhone 15 is way better than your iPhone 1. So if I'm being totally honest, our Space Invaders is better than our Pac-Man, not because of the machine. It's just we're 7 years older, and we've learned so much. No offense to the Pac-Man machine, but we've learned a lot about screens. We've learned a lot about how to keep wood separate to static to the screens, and not just us personally, our factory. So I think it's fair to say that as we progress, our machines get better in build and quality, and I think that's normal for anyone. So in 20 years' time, these machines are going to be brilliant if you put it on that perspective. But no, I think that's fair to say, and I'm sure any manufacturer, I'm sure New Wave or My Arcade or Arcade One Up would say exactly the same, or anyone. As I say, I've got the Apple iPhone 13. It's way better than my iPhone 1. So I think we've learned, and we're getting better at it.
You see, I'm getting some critiques as well from Paul. Not being funny, and I listen to people. He said my controls said could be improved a little bit, and we're going to try and do that as well. That's the important thing. I know you guys do this, and that's just as important as what you've already done. Is you guys listen to critiques. You guys are not. It's not an attack. It's just you listen to them, and it's an improvement point. The whole point of this is to give you guys the best experience possible. I think Numskull, on the machines I have Pac-Man. I've been extremely happy with the Pac-Man. I do remember when that first came out, there was some issues with the emulation, and you guys went back and you get a firmware update, and it did. It fixed it. I've been very happy with that machine. I think the build quality on that, battery power, I play it all the time. There's been no problems. The controls work great. No problem. It's a fun machine. And I think this is going to look great right next to it. Now, like I said, I have future models coming down. I got to get a Galaxian, but I definitely have to get on board with these new machines. I'm more of the classic. I know people want, I did mention Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well, but I know some people want Street Fighters. I'm the classic guy. I want the Scramble, Stern Scramble, the Berserks. Those games draw me and my generation. But the good part about this is the games are more or less timeless. And even a guy my age plays Street Fighter. I play Street Fighter, trust me, 10 times worse than you play Space Invaders. I'm letting you know right now. I suck at it. But that's the thing about these things. And if you don't even, like, I'm not a big Street Fighter fan, but I like having a little machine I can put up and at least put up there. And I at least understand the significance of the machine. So, again, I want to leave, if you guys have anything more you want to add, because we've been going a little bit long this morning on this, but is there anything you want to tell people in the chat or people that watch the video in the future about Numskull, about these machines and the Space Invaders, or any one of the machines?
So, yeah, I think we're back. You know, there's been radio silence for a number of years as we focused on getting Space Invaders right. It's now out there. The feedback from everyone that has one has been absolutely phenomenal. So we're really pleased and really proud of what we've managed to achieve, particularly
Relieved, really relieved as well.
There's more to come now. You know, we are full throttle. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming in 2 to 3 weeks. So that's on the water. We're about to announce our Pepsi and 7-Up USB hubs going live for pre-order first week of December. We've got the next 4 Taito machines, Kick, Zookeeper, Elevator Action, and Bubble Bobble. We're probably going to go to pre-order January, February.
Yeah, Zookeeper, I'll be on that one. Zookeeper, it's a good game.
Yeah. We've announced the next 5 cabs, which are Burger Time, Bad Dudes, Ghostbusters, Pong, and Lunar Lander. As I said earlier on the show, we've now agreed terms on RoboCops. We're at contract stage, so that's going to happen. We're also talking to, obviously, Nintendo. We're talking to some other guys as well, Konami. We're also talking Data East about things like Captain America. We'd love to do that. We want to do The Simpsons from Disney, Star Wars, X-Men. And then Matt's quite keen on going back and doing some more Taito cabs. Rastan, New Zealand Story, Rainbow Island,
Frontline.
Front lines, the Tin
Front
Star.
lines on the list. Frontline and Tin Star use the swivel.
Yep, and if you need one, I happen to make one. So you hit me up after the show. I'll get you guys one.
Cool. That's a deal.
But and that's the other thing too, is people got to understand, like, especially with Star Wars now, working with Disney. Disney is not cheap. Disney is not cheap. So you need to be able to know that you guys at least make a little more than what you had to invest on those licenses, because they are not cheap.
No, they're not. But yeah, they own some really, really good cabs that we want to do. Star Wars, The Simpsons, X-Men, and Tron. Captain America as well with Data East. That's one that we'd like to do.
Yeah. Raiders. There's so many.
All right, so guys, I know you guys are spending a lot of your time. It's like probably dinner time for you guys at this point. I really thank you guys for coming on the show. Again, my show is not the most high-end show. I try and use as much stuff from the 80s as possible. My 240 by 480 webcam's doing pretty good here right now, but everything else here is, it is what it is. The machine, I'm telling you right now, if you are on the fence about looking at one of these new Space Invader cabinets, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's an investment. It really is an investment in something like this. But if you do like the game, that mirror effect on there alone really sells the game. After here, I'm going to be sitting down and just start playing it some more, see if I get a better score on it. But guys, I really want to thank you guys for joining the show. Any last words?
No, from me, no. Thanks for having us on, Glenn. We do follow the show. We're big fans. Well, I'm, personally watching, so it's great to be on and great to nerd out with you, to be honest, and your guys. And I'd love to come on again when we get the next ones.
It'd be a pleasure to have you guys on. And like I said, I'm going to be probably doing a real full review of it after the fact. This was just an unboxing, which again, very impressed, guys. And Matt, I do appreciate, and Ben, don't leaving you out. But Matt, I appreciate you telling everyone, listen, we need to get this right, because I think you did. I think that mirror effect in there, the black light, the whole thing, you did a wonderful job with it. I really do.
Cool. Thank you very much. That means a lot.
Everyone, listen, remember, these are great. This is a fun thing. Video games are the best. But just remember, nothing takes precedence over family and friends. Make sure you always take a moment to tell them you love them, because tomorrow's never promised. Ben, Matt, love you guys. So with that being said, in between those times, Game on. Game on. Sit, Blue, sit.